Hello, I'm Peter Bart.
And I'm Peter Guber, and this is Shootout.
Pete, more and more, the business of Hollywood is not about the finished product, the script, or the teleplay. Now, the obsessive activity of the community is all about how to slice and dice that material so it can be recycled, repurposed, downloaded, and whatever. And as a result of that, there's a whole different feeling in the community as to who gets what piece of the pie. If it's all about slicing and dicing, for example, the writers who created the original product more and more are sitting there and saying, wait a minute, when something is downloaded, when something is repurposed into a cell phone or whatever, or into an iPod, where do I come in? I mean, what piece of the action does the creative, the original material really possess anymore?
But you know, when you look at what's going to happen, if anybody could see the future, if it was clear, it's why they call it the future, but if you could see it and it was clear, we could organize ourselves, codify the rules, have the right kind of negotiation. The anathema is that this uncertainty is on the part of both the writers and the studios and the networks and the guilds. So everybody's afraid to set precedent. Everybody's afraid that if they give a penny here or a penny there, it's going to end up opening the floodgates for the future or be a benchmark for different kinds of negotiations. So everyone's very cagey around the issue. And I don't think anybody, not Rupert Murdoch, not Sumner Redstone, not anybody, really knows what the future will be. And yet, if we're not ready for it, it'll consume us. So we have that battle that's both intellectual as well as fiscal.
That's right. Well, it's one question to write a script, and then it's another question to watch your script being downloaded and repurposed and end up on a Korean cell phone. I mean, all of that is very, very complicated. Business is changing. The ground is shifting under the industry. Everybody's a little skitsy about it. Maybe that's a good thing. Now, what would happen if we talked to an expert witness on this subject? Patric Verrone is the president of the Writers Guild, an attorney. You'd like that. And also gives a lot of his time to these issues about guild representation. You want to bring him on?
Love to get some buttress for your arguments.
Hey, Patrick,
Morning,
thanks for joining us.
Morning. Of course, I'm here to buttress.
Good to see you.
The unholy alliance that exists between the Writers Guild and employers and artists and managers and a whole group of people that make up the industry has worked well despite work stoppages, name calling, and a lot of drama. But in this new digital landscape, is that going to unlevel the playing field?
Well, Peter, I think you'll see that what we as writers, we as the representatives of the talent community feel very strongly that this industry is changing, that it's something that none of us has a crystal ball to be able to see the future. We don't know how these things are going to evolve and develop. But because we don't have crystal balls, we need to have the other kind of balls. And we have to be able to represent our members. We're the first in on the project, and we're the farthest away often from the end of the project. And as a result, we don't have a lot of control over what comes out the back end, so to speak. If we can develop systems with them that allow us to get our fair share, and by us I mean the writers and the directors and the actors, that's really ultimately what we're after. Many of our formulas, and we have many formulas for residuals, are based on a percentage of income and percentage of revenue. If they make money, we make money. If they don't make money, we don't make money.
You've got kids, you've got an interesting career, you've done everything from the Carson show to animation to kids shows. You once edited the Harvard Lampoon, right?
That's true.
Why are you willing to take such a big portion of your life and invest it in what's really an ongoing and continuous hassle?
You know, the rising tide floats all boats. My wife is a writer. I came into this business after having gone to law school and seeing many of my
that's
colleagues.
The problem.
Well, you see, there I'm the recovering lawyer still.
That hurt him too.
Of course, no. So we'll do the secret handshake later. You know, I came out here in the mid-'80s, and my first job was on this brand new thing called Fox that no one knew what that was going to be. I stood a few feet from Rupert Murdoch the first time FBC actually appeared on the screen for the Late Show with Joan Rivers. You know, it was a very exciting time to be in an expanding industry. This continues to be an expanding industry. my 3 kids, I think they all want to be writers. They all can sit at home and work on their computers and cut together film. They spent the summer making movies. They spent more time working on the DVD extras and the behind-the-scenes footage than they did on the movie itself. So this is a terrific time to be in this industry, but it also requires, you know, a form of leadership, a form of sort of forthright and progressive thinking, which is what myself and a lot of my colleagues at the Guild are trying to bring.
But if this is going to ultimately be a jihad, a holy war over how we're going to slice up the digital pie, you have to have a club behind your back. Is the club a strike? Is the club a lockout? Is the club a shutdown? Or is that really, you know, an idle threat?
Well, you know, what's the line from The Godfather, written by Francis Coppola and Mario Puzo? Blood is expensive. You know, none of us wants a strike. None of us thinks that this is the way that the industry has to respond. And again, before our contract expires, we aren't looking to solve this with a strike. We, as a 21st century union, have to develop means in alternative to a strike, different approaches that make the industry aware, that make our employers aware that we're serious about our issues. We've been very careful to reunite with the Writers Guild East. We've had very good relations for the past few months with the Directors Guild, with the Screen Actors Guild, and AFTRA. It's been very important to us to make sure that it's not just about what we can do, we as writers can do on November 1st, 2007.
You're talking a little like a Harvard man, though, with due respect. I mean, you also have organized picket lines. There's this big demonstration with hundreds of writers gathered in the Pan Pacific Park. I mean, you're also using a lot of old-fashioned blue-collar union techniques, no?
Well, this is what a collective group has to do. I mean, we're dealing with 6 multinational conglomerates that have very deep pockets. You've run them, you know what it's like to be at the top of that food chain, and we have to get their attention. And, you know, I can't say that I can pick up the phone and call Sumner Redstone. I can't say that we have...
He'll call you in this...
Well, that may very well happen. Yeah, I have to watch when I get that call. No, it's... You know, there are 7,500 members of the Writers Guild West, another 3,000 in the Writers Guild East, and for us to work collectively, we sometimes have to raise our voice to be heard, and that does require...
They yell a lot. He's saying they yell a lot.
And raise your membership. You look like you're bulking up a little bit there, trying to reach wider arms around a larger constituency of members to fight the battle.
This is true. I mean, and this goes back to Peter's point about classic union techniques. When I came into the business in the mid-'80s, the Writers Guild, Directors Guild, the Actors Guilds represented just about everybody in the business. There was a almost total labor force control by the unions. In that time, and I believe this is a conscious effort on the part of the conglomerates to do this, they've been able to create media without us, and I'm talking about reality television, cable nonfiction, comedy variety in cable. A lot of this is done non-Writers Guild, non-Directors Guild, non-Actors Guilds, and when that happens, that reduces our power at the bargaining table because they can simply say to us, fine, go ahead and strike. We'll put on show business without you because we've got this army of non-union workers. We've been very conscious, and I ran on this when I ran for the presidency of the Guild, to make sure that we could get those writers back in under the tent.
You're spending a lot of money on organizing, much more than ever before, right?
This is true.
But, Patrick, one of the most robust areas in new media is user-generated content, where the user takes a copyrighted piece of material, reworks it, adds his own or her own values into it, and there is no royalty paid to anybody for that, except that the person's putting it on is making some advertising revenue. What is the artist's position in regards to that?
Well, you know, I mean, it's disappointing when someone uses our material and we don't get paid. However, when VCRs first came out, I took the liberty of taking Citizen Kane and cutting it and putting it in chronological order for my own amusement. There is something to be said for artistic license, for people being able to use copyright material for their own pleasure and not for public consumption. We support that. The difficulty comes when it begins to be areas where they're not paying us residuals. what do we care whether it gets reused at that point if there's no financial value for us?
Well, thanks for coming in, filling us in on all this. It's an adventure.
I enjoyed it very much. Look forward to coming back.